Tesla Model Y long range versus Porsche Macan S. We're going to talk about the exterior, the interior, the technology, the performance, and surprisingly, the weight of this is 4,363 pounds. 4,350 pounds. They're within 13 pounds of one another. They both have all-wheel drive. This has 21-inch wheels, this has 20-inch wheels. This has storage up front, this has a twin-turbo V6 making 340 horsepower. So the Macan S starts at $68,400, and the Tesla Model Y is currently $53,500. Now, to spec a Macan to have the equivalent of what a Model Y has, you would have to put in a panoramic roof for $1,670. You would have to add lane keep assist for $800, which is somewhat the equivalent to what autopilot does. It's not nearly as smooth, but it does help. You'd have to add $130 for the dash cam prep. So that would just give you wiring to put in a dash cam on the front of the car. Heated rear seats, $570. Heated steering wheel, $280. You also can get vented seats in the Macan. You cannot get that in the Model Y, and that would be a great option. You have to upgrade the Bose surround sound system for $900, or a Burmester system for $5,700, and that would probably be more in line with the Model Y. So all of that minus the Burmester sound system, we're going to go with Bose, that comes to $74,290, or $20,000 more than a Tesla Model Y. So let's start with the exterior. I think most of us can agree that the Macan is a better looking car. I just find it to be more beautiful. These huge aggressive vents up front, and this also has the sport design package, meaning this is all painted down here. It just adds a little bit more to the car. Moving around the side, now the nice thing about Macans that you should consider is each model is bespoke to exactly how you want it. For example, these side blades are painted body color. You can have these optioned to be carbon fiber, they can be black plastic, they can be body colored like they are. You can have your door handles either match the body or they can be chrome black or standard. The mirrors, it goes on and on and on as to what you can do with a Macan, even down to the seat belts being, I think this is Bordeaux red. So there's so much that you can do to customize the Macan to make it yours, whereas the Model Y and Tesla is very bland. They're just trying to stamp out as many cars as possible and keep their quality up, that they're not at the level that Porsche is in terms of customization for the car. Moving over to the Model Y, like I said earlier, twin turbo V6. In the Model Y, we have a storage compartment here, which is very convenient for road trips. Now, I did wrap these mirror caps black, so they usually come body colored, so that's something I did. And I also have a satin paint protection film I've got on from Dynamic Tint in Tempe, Arizona. I'll have Tyler's information down in the description. He does excellent work. Now, I'm not saying that the Model Y is ugly. I just think against the Macan, that's one of the most beautiful SUVs that you can buy. Now, moving along this side of the Model Y, I think it looks gorgeous down the side here. Also, the keen viewer has pointed out that I didn't get all the pink off of the pink pig. I have to remove these, which I just haven't done yet. So we do, a little bit of the pig still lives with us. Shout out to the pig. But moving around this portion of the car, it's a really good looking car, not as good as the Macan. The rear of this Macan does have this valved sport exhaust system with black chrome tailpipes, and that looks really good. Now let's move on to the interiors of the car, and we're gonna start with the Macan. One thing that people constantly comment about is what's going to happen when the battery goes out in the Model Y. That's going to be a very expensive replacement. And this, what about this? There's all kinds of expensive maintenance that goes on with owning a Porsche. But here's where they become even more similar. 4-year, 50,000 mile warranty. 4-year, 50,000 mile warranty. However, this has an 8-year, 120,000 mile warranty, whichever comes first, on the battery and drivetrain. This does not have that. So if you were at 52,000 miles and the engine blows up, there's no warranty on that. So also something to consider, and just to show you that there is some protection on the battery pack. Now, after 120,000 miles or after the pack is out of warranty, yeah, I don't know what the packs cost, probably about $15,000 to $20,000 with installation. That's about the cost. Hopefully that comes down over time. Now let's jump into this. As I said, this is a 2016 Macan. On the interior of the Porsche Macan, now this is where Tesla owners can get a little bit annoying. I'll do a video on the Macan and someone will go, ew, buttons, yeah, and that's annoying. Like, that's why the Tesla community gets hate, is because of outspoken owners that are like that. They're very annoying. So let's take a look at the buttons here. Starting at the top, temperature control, fan speed, the direction of the air, heated seats, cooled seats, Sport button that comes with all Macans, Sport Plus button. When you put on the Sport Chrono package, you get the Sport Plus, and that makes the gearing really aggressive. You can also have the stiffness of the suspension, and then also because this has an air suspension, you can put it in low mode, just traction control off. This is auto start stop. This is the Sport exhaust button, love that. And then the same up this side. So there's a lot of buttons in here. If you own the car and you live with it for a little while, these will become second nature. So don't look at these buttons like, oh my God, that's gonna be such a headache. And also an enthusiast will actually appreciate all these buttons. What you will not appreciate over time is these infotainment systems. So this is a 2016, it doesn't even have Apple CarPlay. And the problem is, it is so incredibly outdated. Whereas my 2020 Model Y has that 15-inch display on it, and it's constantly updated with over-the-air updates. There is even, at one point, one of my complaints with the Model Y is when you put the air on auto, you weren't able to do auto low, medium, or high. So the air was constantly just blowing in, blowing in, blowing in, and that's more prevalent in Phoenix, Arizona, because it's like 100 million degrees in the summer. So with a software update, you now have low, medium, and high, and that's just one example. Another example is when you sit down in the driver's seat and no one else is in the car in the Tesla Model Y, the air only blows on the driver and not on the passenger side, and that saves a little bit of battery and makes it run more efficiently. So they're constantly doing meaningful updates that refreshes the infotainment system. It hasn't slowed down over time, and whereas this devalues the car because now the new Macan has this beautiful 10-inch display on it, and it just makes this seem outdated, especially not even having access to Apple CarPlay. But other than that, on the interior, steering wheel after 77,000 miles is in great shape. The seats are in excellent shape as well. They've been well taken care of. There's not that much creasing. You can see a little bit here, but overall these seats have held up very well. High quality buttons and leather. Everything in here has been well appointed. So you're paying a lot, but you're also getting excellent quality. And that's where sometimes Tesla can lack in their, really it's their quality control. The quality of the car and the battery is good. There's just some things that aren't tightly aligned like on something like a Mercedes, Porsche, BMW, or Audi, and you're paying those prices. But the recent Tesla price cut has helped that. So let's take a look at the Tesla interior. Onto the Tesla interior, it's the total opposite, minimalistic look, very clean along here. This is a carbon fiber dash that I got from Fusion Motorsports, and I have a discount code for them below. This is real carbon, and it's an OEM dash piece, so it's the best quality that I've found on the market. Center console here, totally plain, no buttons, and then you have this beautiful display. And there's even some customization with it. So if we go ahead and hold this in here, you can see a couple things pop up. So wipers, if I want this to be accessible in this menu down here, I just take that and drag it right down, and there it goes. And if I want to get rid of one of them, like this, see the camera, for example, or Spotify, you just get rid of them and you click up, and then this is more simplistic and you can customize it to exactly how you want. Another thing to note is when a new user comes in the car, let's say my wife gets in and she has different settings than I do. When she gets in the car, it will know that her phone has unlocked the car and it will preload all of her settings for this. So it can be very customized to you. Now, in all fairness, you can do the same thing with the Macan based on which key you have. So if you walk in with one key and it's to your settings, the other key can be set to your wife's settings, and that will change everything from the mirrors, seat position, steering wheel position, all kinds of things in the car. So they do both have that functionality, but the Tesla is very minimalistic. The other thing to note is the Porsche Macan, mine has the air suspension. That is, in my opinion, the best option and should be optioned on every Macan because it increases the ride quality drastically, lets you customize it, lets you customize the height. I just highly recommend that. I think that's a no-brainer upgrade on the Macan. The 0 to 60s on these things are basically identical. This is 4.8 seconds. The Macan with Sport Chrono and launch controls 4.8 to 5 seconds, or 5.2 without that. The new Macan is like 4.8 seconds, the 2023 Macan. So again, all very close, but is it $20,000? Is it worth $20,000 more? And I'm speaking specifically to the Macan S. I know you can get the 4-cylinder for cheaper, but performance-wise, that doesn't add up to the same as the Model Y. They're almost identical when you go to a Macan S. Now, if you're thinking of ordering a Tesla Model Y, they just recently brought back their referral program. I'll have mine linked in the description. All you do is click that link and then place your deposit or order through there, and both of us will get a reward of some sort. I think you can put it towards an accessory on their website or free mileage. I'm not actually sure what all you get, but I know both of us get it, and they've just brought that up. Also, this video is sponsored by INTOTHEAM. This is one of their basic tees. I've been wearing these t-shirts for over 2 years now, and they've been an excellent partner on the channel. Basic tees, they fit really well and they're well priced. So if you go on their website and you use code Gjeebs, you will save 10% off your entire order, and that can be stacked with any promotional deals that they currently have going on. They have some crazy sales at various points throughout the year. So basic tees, print tees, they make really nice stuff. They've been excellent to the channel. INTOTHEAM, thank you for sponsoring. And guys, thank you for buying INTOTHEAM. So first up, in the Macan S, ride quality is better than a Tesla Model Y. It just, yes, it does have the air suspension. Even without that, I've just found that the car is much more compliant on the other Macans that I've driven without the air suspension. Now, the Macan is more stiff than like a BMW X3, but the Macan's also more sport focused, so you can kind of expect that. But overall, the seating position, the seats aren't quite as comfortable as the Tesla, but the visibility out of it and the blind spots are slightly better. Some other things here, like I said earlier, the cooled seats are extremely nice to turn on, especially in Arizona. But one thing that makes the Macan fun, while it probably on a real world everyday basis, the Macan is probably slower than the Model Y, and especially the Model Y performance, it's very hard to beat that. But you have the PDK transmission, and the shifts are so quick and it's so satisfying, and it's actually a good exhaust note out of the twin turbo V6, and opening the valves up in sport mode or sport plus makes it sound even better. Now, one cool thing that I've done is, you see this little diamond button here. When I click this button, that activates and deactivates the sport exhaust. So you can program that button to do a whole bunch of things on this third screen in there. There's so much in that screen, and you take this dial and you press it forward, and that goes through various screens. The torque split, that shows air pressure in the tires, ride time, consumption, range. There's all kinds of things that you can fill in that, and that's why the Porsche or Porsche, whichever one you drive, I really enjoy how they always have the enthusiast in mind. They're always thinking about, what would a car obsessed person like to play around with? And that's what they've done a really nice job at in the Macan. So if that's your mindset, and you're an enthusiast and you really like to tinker with things, this may be the car for you. The problem is it comes at a heavy expense. Oil changes are $500 when it's all said and done, and that's from Porsche, or at least $300+ if you were to go to a third-party shop. Like, even the cheapest third-party shop, because it's 9 quarts of oil, it's still going to be very expensive to be putting oil and maintenance into this thing. And then spark plugs, and then brakes. This is weighs the same as the Tesla, and you're constantly using the brakes to slow down, whereas the Tesla has regenerative braking. And it's also highly, highly inefficient. It's very hard to attain the EPA range on this, where honestly it's the same in the Tesla, but that's a very efficient car. It's just very hard to get the range that they advertise of 330 miles on the Tesla Model Y. But the Macan, it's beautiful. It's a luxury brand. There is not as many of these on the road as there are Model Ys. I think there's only about 50 or 60,000 Macans manufactured and made in the United States. So it's going to be a more rare car than the Model Y. It's sportier in some senses. I'd be interested to take the two on a track and, see which one is actually faster. Overall, it's an SUV. It's not a sports car, and you can't get the two confused. If you look at it on paper, you're like, whoa, this is as fast as an M3 or something like that. And when I say M3, I'm talking about the BMW, not the Tesla. So things I like in the Macan: the air suspension is great. I love the enthusiast-focused cabin. I like the way this is spec'd with the cooled seats, the panoramic roof, the sport exhaust. There's a lot of things that this does well. Now let's go jump in the Model Y and see what that's like driving it right after the Macan S. So now that we're in the Model Y, The first thing that you notice is the ease of use, single pedal driving. And what I mean by that is I don't really have to touch the brake. Now in emergency situations I will, but when I let off of the brake, the car slows itself down, and that also puts energy back into the battery. A lot of times that will account for up to 20% more efficiency. So a gas-powered car, 20 to 30% of a gallon of gas will propel you forward. In an EV, it will be around 80%, and that's because of regenerative braking. So that's one thing to think about. So just using one pedal. That will also reduce your costs down the line. Brake pads and rotors, the pads and rotors on this thing will most likely outlast the life of the car. They're that good. Now you might want to change your brake fluid at some point. That would probably be good to do, and Tesla recommends doing that about every 2 years. But just the simple ease of use of this car, there's no starting it. You get in, you put your foot on the brake, and the car is ready to go because it's hooked up to your phone. You also have remote access to, we'll call it security footage of your car. So I can go into my Tesla app and look at Sentry mode and show on the cameras that are all around the car. I have a 360 view of it, and the car will record anything that happens while you're gone. Additionally, there's no oil changes. There's no transmission fluid changes. There's so much less that you have to do for this. In 50,000 miles, all I've done is replace the tires and replace the cabin air filters and replace the windshield wipers. That's all I've had to do. There's just very little that you have to do with this car. So, and then just the throttle response is so incredibly sharp. It is so nice. The question then comes down to, and I know this is an EV and that's a gas car, but they cost approximately the same. Well, they don't really anymore, but they did. They come into like the same performance and use case. It's the same type of person that could possibly be wanting to buy these cars. So which one should you buy? Think about it like this. You don't need either of these cars. You can talk about saving the planet all day, but ultimately you're getting these cars because you want them. So which one should you buy? Think of the long-term case. You're going to be putting a lot less money into your Tesla, but there's going to be more of them on the road. Also, how many road trips are you doing, and does it bother you that it's going to take longer in a gas car? On a 2,000-mile journey, it took me 25% more time in an electric car. Now, the Tesla charging network is excellent, it's reliable, and very easy to use. You don't have to think, where's my charger at? And a lot of people think, oh, my charger is going to have to take me off my route. That's not the case. I would say 85% of the time that is not the case. This Model Y looks sick. In red, is that a performance? Yes, sir. The performance Model Ys look really good. So most of the time, you're going to be totally fine on your route. It's just going to take more time when the trip is over about 300 miles, then the trip is going to take more time. On a 300-mile journey, your trip may be 15 to 20 minutes longer. That will grow based on how far you're going. So it's really smooth, and then the Macan, you can customize it way more. It has a sporty exhaust sound. It's more luxurious. I'll say it's more luxurious. It's not as technologically advanced as the Tesla. So that's my advice to you. You got to really think about, because I'm not paying your bills and the people, your friends are not paying your bills. You have to ultimately decide which car you like better. I think they're both going to make you happy over time. I just made a video talking about, are you going to miss your gas car when you switch to an EV? And you can watch that video right here. And a lot of people in the comments of that video said they never looked back. So click this video right here and check that out. I hope you enjoyed this one. Make sure you're subscribed.